So I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:02 for the Seldovia Planning Commission for November 1st. And if the clerk could call the order. Or the roll call.
Commissioner Kroll? Not present. Commissioner Ryan?
Here.
Commissioner Sweet?
Here.
Commissioner Forsberg?
Here.
All right, we have 3 members here and we have a quorum.
Thank you. And then could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion of the agenda?
Would you like
Yeah.
to proceed with the vote?
Sorry?
Would you like a roll call vote?
Yes, please.
Okay, Commissioner Ryan?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweet?
Yes.
Commissioner Forsberg?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, 3 yeas and 1 absent. Motion passes.
And then D, approval of minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes
I'll move to approve the minutes.
and a second?
I'll second it.
And any discussion on the minutes? And then if we could do a roll call.
And Commissioner Ryan?
Approved. Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Sweet?
Approved.
And Commissioner Forsberg?
Yes.
All right. Motion passes 3 yes and 1 absent.
Any public comments regarding items not on the agenda?
There's no hands raised at this time.
Okay, and then there's no public hearing or prior notice for our meeting today.
Yeah, that's correct. There are no public hearings or consideration of site plans.
Okay, and then so we'll proceed with the commission business, and then because I have a potential conflict of interest with the Cedar Street extension, I'll go to the audience and Commissioner Ryan will lead this section. So.
You guys are.
Thank you. Through the chair. In your packet on page 8 is a memo with an update on the Cedar Street extension conversation. At the previous meeting, we were asked to look into a public use easement for Cedar Street. And we've reached out to a surveyor just to get one cost estimate to survey the as-built road for a public easement, and that is in the memo. It does not cover a Willow Street survey or replat or land swap, so there will be additional costs to consider if we move through with that. And also in that memo listed is the procedure for sale and disposal of city property, which we were asked to look into in regards to the land swap for the parcel across the street that the proposer was asking for. I did have a conversation with Mr. Sandlin about his building permit. And he has taken an application, but he has not returned it at this time. And so I'm kind of waiting for conversations to see what he'd like to do on the Willow Street side, as well as been in communication with the borough on their process for easements and replats. It is generally about a 4 to 6 month process to do that. And the first step of that would be a preliminary survey from the surveyor, And for that, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we want letters of commitment from the property owners before that.
So letters of commitment, and then that would be a discussion. There would need to be a discussion about cost.
Okay.
And responsibility.
And so just kind of moving through the process, that's where we are right now. And I guess I'll turn back over to the commission.
Was that a question? I didn't.
Oh, so that's the update on the Cedar Street extension that I have from a staff perspective. So I guess I turn it back over to Vice Chair Ryan. If you'd like to
Okay.
go to public presentation or
Is there somebody from the public that wants to comment on this? Yeah, okay, go ahead. Andy?
This is Randy Sweet, and I'm speaking as my own self as opposed to a commission member. So just to report on between the last meeting and this meeting, I did speak to Mr. Sandland, and we discussed the public easement and him needing to submit the permit applications. And we did discuss the public easement would allow for retaining the highest amount of there's a 50% requirement for land maximum for building. And so that would allow him to build the most amount of, he could take advantage of that, because if versus seeding land, then that percentage, the net amount would be less. So the public easement is easier to do. And then it's also less costly. That when we had this discussion about this matter before, there was a price quoted of $12,000, and then with the cost split between the landowners and the city, and then the landowners would be ceding property. So the public easement costs are significantly less. So potentially, one request might be for the city to take care of that, because it's significantly less than the $6,000, and it would resolve an ongoing issue. And I guess the Willow Street part is that needs to be resolved, but there's a potential for some funding from a program that could take care of those costs. So that would be another thing to be able to have a discussion on with the appropriate parties. I'm assuming that's a city and a borough issue, but there apparently are some possible funds to resolve that. Where the road is not where it's platted, so there's a conflict between those two things, and so getting that resolved would be the issue for Willow Street. I did talk to Mr. Sandland about the lot on the slough, and during our conversation, it was my impression that he saw the benefit of not buying that property, but potentially asking the city to put in a deed that there wouldn't be any building on that property. And I don't want to speak for him. I just reporting what our conversation was at that point in time. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what he has to say officially on his part. And one suggestion that I made was that if the city were going to do that, then there could be a potential of putting that in the deed and then also allowing for a boardwalk or could be potentially put there. What I was thinking is not to preclude that if we, because we're looking at doing boardwalk projects and it could serve as an access point. So it would be something I think that would be nice for the neighborhood and nice for visitors. You know, it's not a commitment to do that, but I think not building on that lot makes sense as far as the structure of a building, but it could be a good thing to do a boardwalk or an observation deck. So that is what I have to report since the last time.
Yeah, I'll speak. I have a couple of questions. Walt's on it. So the lot that Steve Sandlin wanted was this, I'm looking at lot 1, which is, he has lot 1A, and just across the street, there's lot 1. Is that the lot that he was proposing to take the trade? So this is his lot.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the status of lot 2C that's across the street from lot 2A? Is that also owned by the city?
Thank you. That was a great question through the chair. Lot 1A and Lot 2C, this is an old plat. Since this time, Lot 1A, Lot 1 and Lot 2C have been combined as one lot.
Okay.
And that is a city lot.
Okay.
The city, there's a sewer main that runs through the original Lot 1 and the sewer or the Susan Lake outfall through Lot 2C. So they both have infrastructure that run through them, but they're one lot now.
Okay. No, this lot here, these two have been combined.
Okay.
So, it's my understanding that the city somewhat recently purchased those lots for $53,000. Is that correct?
Thank you for that question again through the chair. I'll have to double check on the price. I know that we recently purchased Lot 2C. I think that was in 2013, but again, I'll have to double check on dates and price. We purchased it from the owner of Lot 2A due to the fact that we had an outfall running through the lot, and it's not extremely usable.
Okay, so prior to that, the city owned lot 1.
I believe so, but I'll double check.
Okay. Yeah, I'm of the opinion that both of these lots should be retained by the city. Just for the reason that nothing can be built there. And I certainly, I don't think I'd object to a boardwalk or something like that, but that I think it's important that there be at least a few places in Seldovia where you can walk along the street and see the slough. That's important for the beauty of the community, and also selfishly for me, because I have a lot right across the street, and that was one of the appealing things to me when I bought that lot, knowing that something wouldn't be built right across the street to block my view of the slough. And so I am not in support of trading lot 1 for that portion of Cedar Street that Steve Sandlin owns.
Well,
Mr. Stranik is online. He also has his hand out.
Unmute. I'm muted.
Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, so, I just, agree with Walt's, position there. Well, mainly, I don't think the city should ever give up any water access for people to be able to get either go up or down to the tide line and so forth and be able to walk the beach for whatever reason. And I think the borough also frowns on the city giving up any type of waterfront property. So I'm supporting Walt's view on that and keep it in the city, keep it as a public access and remain that way. That's all.
Wow. Thanks for that. You have some more, Randy?
This is Randy Sweet. I just had a question because the city owns the lots, but is there a public access approved for that, or does it need to be approved for that? I'm just asking because I don't know.
Excellent question, through the chair. So, that right now, the lots are owned, because of the infrastructure in them, and they are used as a snow dump area, though not, as frequently as some other areas, because the access there isn't, fantastic for, pushing snow. But there is access off of Lake Street, that is designated as access to the waterfront, down there by Nordstrom's if we go down there. So that is a public access point. Oh, and I should say there is a little access to the south of lot 1 as well that is public access that's on that side of the lot. So if there was need for it to be, we have other lots in the community, like there's one on the other side of Willow Street. Willow Street, Susan Lake, and it is designated as public. And that's the access point to that lake. So I guess that's a potential in the future if there wanted to be a proposal that this lot was designated as public instead of the district that it's in. That's something that could be evaluated.
Yeah, the access right next to lot 1 on this chart shows a little dotted line going down, essentially down to the beach. And I know in an emergency situation that occurred quite a while ago, there were some sewer projects that were a sewer repair project that was being done at my house or right next to my house about I guess the water line coming across the slough there. And there was some trouble with some broken down machinery. And as the tide was coming in, Jim Hopkins came across the slough to the rescue. There should have been bugles. And the only way that he could get out of the slough with the machinery was through this access right at the base of Willow Street. And that access is very important because there was no way that he, at that point, could have gotten around the point there by what is now the Nordstrom property, which kind of is a rocky point there to get up to Lake Street in that situation. So that access is very important to retain. And change a little bit. Yeah, I fully approve of the proposal to get us all together and do an easement on Cedar Street. It seemed like the most logical and cheapest thing to do. And it seems the most obvious and least painful, if you will. So I would like to see us go forward with that project if everyone could agree on it. That's it.
Right. Well, is the process to make a motion that is what we want to have happen?
Through the chair, you could, I think there's still a little missing piece of the property owner agreement.
Mhm.
And from going through this process in the past, we've learned that if you don't have everybody on board, then the project stalls. So I would say that that would be the direction that the commission could give staff, is to continue to work with the property owners. And if we're able to ascertain agreement from each individual, then a proposal could be put forth to the commission, a full proposal of what it would look like, the cost to put a restriction in the deed for that lot 1, to replat Willow Street, because that would have to be a replat versus an easement. And then the public use easement through Cedar, and have that follow-up discussion on how to move forward from there. If everybody's in agreement, it looks good, then it can be referred to council with a recommendation.
Does the work have to be done on Willow Street? Is it like contingent on the Cedar Street? Or just because you're in the area and cleaning things up? Is that?
I think that that's the appeal for the property owner, is that the land envelope stays the same, or there's some gaining there. And there's from what my understanding previously from the city council and previous commissioner members, there's support to see Cedar Street exist, and there's support throughout the whole community to see streets kind of exist as they are, and of course to eventually improve upon them if that's a possibility. But with that knowledge, knowing that Willow Street is not where it's platted, I think that that's not a hardship to include that as part of the proposal, so that everything can exist as it is at this point and move forward.
Okay, so
Yeah. If I remember right, one, Mr. Salmon's, thoughts were, restricted on his ability to, how big of a building he could build. So maybe, to build over that, you need a variance, right? If he could get a variance to build a bigger building than what the restrictions would be. So
Correct.
maybe that could be figured in some way too, because I mean, I don't think there's any big opponent of why you couldn't build a little bit bigger than what it was, you know. So I know the lot down there by the fuel tanks, that guy wanted literally the whole lot was going to be a house. You know, I mean, there was like 90% or whatever. So maybe that should be considered in there too. I also had maybe we could name the street after him. That'd be all right, huh? Part of history. That's all I got.
okay, so should we have a motion that we would like staff to continue getting the agreements from the landowners? Is that what we do next? Or you just say this is what's happening?
So you don't technically have a quorum.
Oh.
You have just 2 members.
All right.
So I think just direction and we can move forward.
Okay. We're down to 2. All right, thanks for that presentation and everything.
I didn't realize it wasn't working. So back to commission business, building permit topographical impacts to neighboring properties. And staff,
Yeah.
you have a presentation.
Sure, through the chair on page 17 of your packet, we had previously had a discussion during the amendment of the building permit to come up with a process for more public input when neighboring property construction could affect the properties surrounding them, especially I'm calling it topographical impacts, so water restructuring, slope instability. And so through that, we've researched a little bit and come up with some proposed language on page 18 of the packet to add into our code for building permits, where if there is an adverse impact, it would follow the process in code 1896, which is the same public hearing process that we already have in place. So just kind of wanted to get the commission's opinion on that language, and if you felt like that encompassed what you were seeing for that.
I have a comment on that. I like when you said the topographical impacts, because there's all sorts of adverse impacts beyond topographical, like this building's gonna block my view, it's gonna block my access to solar gain, that kind of thing that could be considered adverse impacts as well. So maybe if all we're really talking about is topographical, that you should put that word in there.
Through the chair, Commissioner Renner, put it in
In this paragraph E.
okay, and so adverse topographical impacts at the beginning.
Yeah. And those other kind of impacts that I just mentioned are they valid? Can people raise that concern? Or that's like part of having property with neighbors, I guess.
Through the chair, we have building permits are issued unless they don't follow code or for some reason. So we would have to amend our code to include restrictions like that in order to do that. But I think this was more about having a public process so that neighbors are aware of what was going on. But it's certainly something we can look into if we want to make further recommendations for the code.
No, I think it's more important. Yeah, I'm more satisfied with it. These are limited to topographical because if you live in a city, you're going to have close neighbors. It's part of what comes with the territory.
Does anybody else have any feedback? So then from a standpoint of acting on this, should I do a motion to include this in the code? What would be the next best step?
Well, we would go to public comment.
So for the members in the audience, and then just kind of, so it's the comments from the audience, then then it's a motion to recommend a change to the code, and then sending that recommendation to the council. Okay, I was just trying to make sure that
That's correct.
we knew kind of understanding what was going to happen. So thank you. And are there any comments from the public?
Not seeing any at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So could I have a motion to recommend this change for adverse topographical impacts to the city council?
I will make a motion to do that.
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
And could the clerk do a roll call vote? Oh,
Commissioner Ryan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweet,
yes.
Commissioner Forsberg.
Yes.
Okay. We have 3 yes and 1 absent. Motion passes.
And then moving on to item A, staff reports.
Yeah, so we have now all 13 of our permits approved, with the last one being approved just a couple of days ago. And soon, hopefully, we will have online all of the FY 23 and 24 building permits that have gone through, just so people have public comment and review on that. And I don't know if anybody has additional questions on the building permits that have been issued or not, but there are no outstanding ones at this time. And then we do have the commercial business subcommittee update. I don't know, Chair Sweet, if you want me to do that or if you
Sure.
want.
Thank you.
So we had our last subcommittee meeting on October 25th, where we did discuss a variety of issues and people spoke about the impacts of the different land use types within the district. There was some committee members that mentioned wanting to possibly rezone some of the houses that were in the district. And we are slowly going through the land use table and coming up with possible changes and clarifications for the definition and language. And the next meeting will be on November 15th at 5 p.m. And I don't know if anybody has any questions on it, or if there's anything you'd like to add. Or Commissioner Ryan, did you want to add it?
And then I think the planning web page future updates, that's kind of what you were referring to for the 23 and 24 building permits.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to have a page online here soon with all
Okay.
of those permits. It's been a lot to get them all scanned in and up there, but I don't want to put it out there until they're all up there.
Okay. And is that all for your reports?
And that is all that I
Okay.
have today.
And then informational items not requiring actions, just an point of information that the City of Seldovia offices will be closed November 10th, 2023 in observance of Veterans Day. And then item K, comments of the public.
Hi, I'm Sachiko. I live on the boardwalk. I don't have a comment. Thank you for giving me your class. I have a question. When shall I ask question after the meeting?
No, right now.
Okay, I don't know how it's working these days. When one has a vacant lot and want to build a building within 75% of the area, right? That's the maximum usage.
It depends on the district.
Oh,
It depends on where the building's at.
okay, just simply residential, I say.
Yeah.
And so I present plan to you.
No, so we have a building permit process and the building permit is at the city office or online. You fill that out and then submit it to the city office and we go through a review process with you to answer any questions that are outstanding. And then once that's been reviewed by staff, it'll be reviewed by Liz first. And then it comes to my desk. I do another review over it, and then it goes to a member of the planning commission. And after that, it's signed off. It doesn't have to go to the commission unless, at this point they are considering, and that was the item that was referred to council at tonight's meeting, that if there's a potential topographical impact, then it would go out as a public notice to anybody within 300 feet of that property and would come to a public hearing meeting for approval. But otherwise, the building permits are done administratively and not through the planning commission.
So what would I see if I present it to you and it's been approved? Whose name would be on that as a permitting party?
It would be the city manager.
City manager?
Mm.
And so before you approve the plan, you will study all the building codes that the plan complies with it.
We do not have a building inspector or a code inspector. We don't have a code inspector, so the onus is on the property owner to follow the codes.
So that whoever designs my house should know
Yes,
all the codes.
yeah.
Because you do not do the research if the plan is kosher.
I guess I should specify further. So the building permit is more of a zoning permit, and perhaps that would be a better name for it. I think in Homer, that's the process that they're looking at, is implementing a zoning permit, which means the things that we're looking at are setbacks, building height, parking space, the things that are going to impact neighboring properties. That's our focus. What's happening inside the building itself, we don't review those plans for electrical, fire, building codes. If it's a commercial building, it has to go through the state fire marshal's office. But for individual buildings, that's not our process. Our process is that the property owners, that is on them to have that awareness and to follow their codes, to follow those codes for their building itself. But from the city standpoint, the permitting process is applicable to the zoning that the building is in.
And if there is a change in the plan, should I have to present it to you?
Yes.
I change, even though it's within the restriction.
If it's within the same building footprint.
Okay. Deduction or addition well, within 750. I was 75% the area, right?
No,
Residential.
no.
Oh, okay.
We can look at that. If you have more questions about that, come on down to the office and we can pull up the code and look at each district or look at residential specifically.
No building inspector, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Are there any other comments from the public? Any comments from the commission?
Another informative meeting, I'd say.
Commissioner Ryan?
No comment.
Okay. And the next meeting is scheduled for December 6th, 2023. And motion to adjourn at 6:41 p.m.
Do we have someone to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
All those in favor?
No, as long as there's no objection, we're adjourned.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, everybody.
You need a gavel.